My son's bride called me low class at the wedding, but I exposed her fake rich family and drug-fueled lies in front of everyone. She thought she could humiliate me, until the truth came out. I stood at the back of the grand hall, clutching my small purse so tightly my knuckles turned white. Crystal chandeliers glittered above, and every table was draped in ivory silk. The air smelled like roses, money, and something else, judgment. My son Mark looked radiant in his tuxedo, the kind of joy in his eyes that only love could bring. And beside him, his bride, Emily, glowed in a gown that probably cost more than my yearly salary. I tried to be happy for him, truly, but something inside me felt uneasy. The way Emily's family had swept into our lives, dazzling cars, fake smiles, designer outfits, it all seemed too polished. They never looked at me directly, as if my thrift store dress might stain their reputation. Still, I smiled, because that's what mothers do. The ceremony began, and I could barely see through my tears as my son said, "I do." He looked at her like she was the sun itself. I wanted to believe she loved him back the same way. The reception was held in a ballroom straight out of a royal movie. Golden drapes, an orchestra, and a dessert table the size of my kitchen. I stood by the corner, nursing a glass of sparkling water, when Emily's mother approached me. "You must be Sarah," she said, her voice as smooth as champagne. "Mark's mother, yes?" "Yes," I smiled politely. Her eyes scanned my outfit, lingering on my simple necklace. "How lovely of you to come. Emily mentioned you. Run some kind of volunteer group?" "I manage a support center," I replied quietly. "For recovering addicts." Her painted smile froze. "Oh, how admirable." She turned away before I could explain that I was one of those recovering addicts, sober for 8 years now. It didn't matter. I told myself I was here for Mark, not for their approval, but that resolve shattered during the dinner toast. Emily clinked her glass, standing beside my son. Her voice was sweet but sharp enough to cut. "I just want to thank everyone for being here, especially my new family," she said, smiling toward her guests. "It's so wonderful to join such humble roots." The room chuckled politely. Mark laughed too, oblivious. She continued, "When I first met Mark, I didn't even know he came from, well, such modest beginnings. But love conquers all, right?" The laughter grew. My cheeks burned. "Emily," Mark said softly, trying to laugh it off, but she wasn't done. "Of course," she added, looking right at me, "I believe class isn't about money, it's about manners. And some people just don't know how to carry themselves, no matter how much they pretend." The laughter died. A few guests turned their heads toward me. I froze in my chair. My fork clattered against the plate. I could hear my heart pounding louder than the orchestra. Mark looked confused, glancing between us. "Emily, what are you talking about?" he asked. "Oh, nothing," she said, with a sugary smile. "Just a little joke." "Don't be so sensitive." But I saw the smirk on her mother's face. The whisper that followed. "Low class," someone muttered under their breath. And just like that, the years I spent rebuilding my life, every night I fought through withdrawal. Every morning I woke determined to be better, all of it shattered under the weight of their laughter. I excused myself, barely holding back tears. In the hallway, the soft music faded behind me. My hands trembled as I leaned against the wall. I thought about leaving, just disappearing before anyone noticed. But then I heard a voice, two actually, Emily and her mother. They didn't know I was there. "Did you see her face?" Her mother whispered, laughing. "That woman looks like she came straight out of a thrift store," Emily giggled. "Mark's too sweet to see it. He thinks she's this saint for being in recovery. Please, it's embarrassing." Something cold settled in my chest. I wanted to cry, but anger burned hotter than shame. Because while they laughed at my past, they had no idea about theirs. I had already begun noticing inconsistencies weeks ago. Emily's so-called family business didn't exist in public records. The luxury house they claimed to own was rented short-term, and one of the cousins who attended the engagement party, I'd seen her face before on a modeling website. I hadn't said a word. Not yet, but that night, as I stood alone in the corridor watching them toast to their lies, something in me shifted. If she wanted to humiliate me in front of 150 guests, then maybe it was time the truth came out, right in front of all of them. I didn't sleep that night. While the guests danced and laughed in the ballroom, I sat outside beneath the flickering garden lights, my mind replaying every cruel word Emily had said. Low class. Pretending, funny, because she was the one pretending the most. In my purse lay a folder I'd brought for Mark. It contained a small financial report I'd meant to show him something about Emily's family company. I hadn't wanted to cause trouble, but now the folder felt like justice waiting to be served. The next morning, after the wedding chaos had died down, I knocked on Mark's hotel door. He opened it, smiling sleepily. "Mom, are you okay? You left early last night." "I'm fine," I lied. "Can we talk?" He frowned, sensing something was wrong. "Sure," I handed him the folder. "Mark, before you get upset, I just want you to look at this." I started checking into Emily's family when some things didn't add up. The Davenport Enterprises she said her father owns. It doesn't exist. The building they took you to for dinner was rented, and the people you met at her engagement party. He flipped through the papers, his expression darkening. "What is this, Mom? Why are you doing this now?" "Because I heard her last night," I said softly. "She called me trash, Mark. Right in front of everyone." He shook his head. "Emily wouldn't. She was just nervous." "She wasn't nervous," I interrupted. "She was cruel. And she's lying to you." Mark dropped the folder on the bed. "You're wrong." "Maybe you misunderstood. Emily loves me." "I'm sure she does," I said bitterly, "as long as you believe her stories." He glared at me then, eyes full of frustration. "Why can't you just accept her?" "You always think people are hiding something." "I don't think," I said quietly. "I know." He walked away, rubbing his temples. "Mom, please, don't ruin this for me." The words cut deeper than I expected. I'd fought so hard to earn back his trust after the dark years of my addiction. And now, once again, he looked at me like I was the problem. I left the room without another word. That night, I sat by my window, staring at the empty wine glass from the reception that I'd taken as a keepsake. I wanted to throw it, to break something, but instead, I whispered to myself, "Wait, the truth always shows itself." And it did, faster than I could have planned. 2 days later, I received a call from a woman named Jenna. "Mrs. Parker?" she asked. "You don't know me, but I was hired for Emily's wedding." "Hired?" "Yes," she said nervously. "I'm a freelance actress. Emily's planner offered me $500 to pretend to be her cousin from Chicago. But something didn't sit right with me. I looked you up and thought you should know." I nearly dropped the phone. "Are you sure?" 100%, Jenna replied. "I can send you the messages if you'd like." Within minutes, screenshots poured into my inbox, Emily's messages arranging payments, providing backstory details for her fake relatives. My heart pounded as I scrolled through them. She'd built her entire image, her entire rich family, out of hired strangers. I stared at the messages, trembling. This wasn't just arrogance. It was deceit on a scale that could ruin Mark's life. So, I made a plan. If Emily wanted to embarrass me in public, then the truth would also come out in public. The following weekend, there was a post-wedding brunch at Emily's parents' mansion, or, as I soon confirmed, a luxury rental under a fake name. I arrived early carrying a small USB drive in my purse. I'd loaded all the evidence onto a slideshow, screenshots, rental records, and even clips from social media accounts of the actors who had posed as family. Mark greeted me hesitantly. "Mom, about the other day." "It's okay," I said softly. "Just watch." As guests began to gather in the marble-floored hall, Emily floated in, all diamonds and fake grace. "Oh, Sarah, I'm surprised you came," she said sweetly. "I wouldn't miss it," I replied. She smirked. "I hope you're feeling better." "I didn't mean to upset you during the toast." I looked her dead in the eye. "Oh, you didn't upset me, dear. You inspired me." Before she could respond, I turned to Mark and said, "Can you please play the video, son?" "I think everyone will enjoy this." Emily blinked. "Video?" Mark hesitated, but I'd already connected the USB. The screen in the corner flickered to life. At first, the guests murmured with interest until the first slide appeared. "Meet Emily's cousin, Jenna, freelance actress, hired for $500." Gasps rippled through the room. Emily's face drained of color. The next slide showed payment confirmations, fake business registrations, and photos from modeling profiles of the so-called family. "Sarah, what is this?" someone whispered. Emily lunged toward the screen. "Turn that off." "That's not—" Mark stood frozen, eyes wide. "Emily, is this true?" Her voice shook. It's not what it looks like. But it was, and for the first time she had nowhere left to hide. The room fell silent except for the soft hum of the projector. You could hear the disbelief, the whispers, the gasps. Emily's perfect little illusion shattered in real time. Mark's hands trembled as he looked from me to the screen, then to his bride. Emily, tell me it's fake. Tell me she's lying. Emily's lip quivered. Mark, please, I can explain. Explain what? He interrupted, his voice breaking. That you hired strangers to pretend to be your family? That you lied to me about everything? Her eyes darted around, searching for sympathy, but there was none left to find. You wouldn't have loved me if you knew the truth, she finally whispered. You would have thought I was low class. Those two words hung in the air like poison. Mark stepped back, the realization hitting him hard. You judged my mother for something she overcame, while your whole life was built on lies. Emily reached for him, desperate. I just wanted you to see me as worthy. I saw you, he said coldly, but I didn't know who I was looking at. She collapsed into a chair, face buried in her hands as guests began filing out, some shaking their heads, others staring at me as if I had done something miraculous. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt tired. After everyone left, Mark stood beside me in the quiet hall. You were right, he said softly. I didn't want to believe it. I thought you were trying to protect me because of what happened before. But you were just protecting the truth. I reached out and touched his arm. Love can make us blind, son. But truth brings sight back, even if it hurts. He nodded, tears in his eyes. What do I do now? Let her face the consequences, I said gently. That's all any of us can do. That night, the story spread faster than wildfire. Someone had recorded the moment Emily's fake family was exposed, and within hours, the clip was everywhere, social media, local news, even a talk show the next day. The next morning, Emily and her family were trending for all the wrong reasons. Her supposed father, who had proudly spoken about his million-dollar company at the wedding, was identified as an out-of-work actor from Phoenix. The truth was out, and there was no putting it back. A few days later, Mark came to see me at the recovery center. His shoulders slumped, but there was a new steadiness in his eyes. I filed for an annulment, he said quietly. She confessed everything. The fake company, the actors, even the debt she was hiding. She thought marrying into my success would make her someone she wasn't. I nodded slowly. That kind of deception always unravels, son. It's better you saw it now than 10 years from now, he smiled faintly. You know, she called you low class. But after seeing how you handled everything, I realized she doesn't even know what class is. I chuckled softly. True class isn't in money or clothes, Mark. It's in honesty. It's in standing tall, even when people try to shame you for your past. He hugged me then, a real, heavy hug that made all the pain worth it. I'm proud of you, Mom. You didn't just expose her. You reminded me what integrity looks like. 3 weeks passed. Emily checked herself into treatment for anxiety and prescription pill abuse, something she'd hidden for years. I didn't rejoice at her downfall. I just hoped she'd finally find honesty within herself. Then, one morning, the local newspaper ran a headline, Wedding Fraud Exposed, Family of Actors Paid to Attend Ceremony. Beneath it, an editorial quoted me, words I'd said to a reporter who asked what I'd learned from all this. Money can buy appearances, I told her, but it can't buy truth. And truth is what sets us free. The recovery center received dozens of calls after that. Families asking for help. People admitting to living double lives out of fear or shame. Somehow, my humiliation had turned into hope for others. A few months later, Mark joined one of our community meetings. He spoke openly about denial, about ignoring red flags, about how love without honesty can't survive. And as he spoke, I realized this wasn't just a story of exposure, it was one of growth, forgiveness, and strength. When the meeting ended, he came to me and said, "You know, Mom, I think everything happened exactly how it needed to." I smiled. Sometimes the ugliest truth brings out the most beautiful lessons. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. I think I finally understand what you meant about recovery. It's not just about addiction, is it? No, I said softly. It's about recovering yourself. Your dignity, your clarity, your truth that night, I sat by my window again, the same spot where I'd once whispered, "Wait." The truth always shows itself. And it had. I thought about Emily, somewhere in treatment, maybe writing a letter of apology she'd one day send. I thought about my son, stronger now, wiser. And I thought about myself, a woman who had once been ashamed to stand up for her past, now standing proudly in it. If you're reading this and someone ever calls you low class because of where you've been or what you've survived, remember this. The real measure of worth isn't in what you own. It's in what you've overcome, and no amount of lies can ever outshine the truth.